Okay, welcome back to our video series and all about Google Drive. We are now in video 4, and we are going to be talking about sharing settings. So there's basically 3 content areas we are going to cover in this video. So we are focusing on slide 7 in our resource file from our Google slide deck. We are going to talk about how to share the file itself. What if we want to share the link to the file? And also files shared with you. So let's talk about the yellow area first, which is sharing the file itself. And I'm going to go ahead and head over to My Drive. So one thing I do want to point out is that if you don't have anything clicked on or selected, notice I don't see any options up here in my top right-hand corner. If I click on a particular item in my drive, and it could be anything. Remember, we can share any type of file, not just a doc. It could be this video, it could be a PDF, it could be a slide. Anything that's in Drive, we have access to get sharing settings and links. So if I click on this document, I now see that I have some options here. So if you're not seeing those, that's just a little tip on why they're not there. If you don't have anything clicked on, you won't see them. If you click on a file, they will appear. So you can see this little sharing icon. It's the person with the plus sign. I can also right click and get that same option. I can also go into my document, and up here in the top right, I can see that share option. I can also go to the left under file and share and get those same options. Either way, eat any of those options that you choose will all take you to the same place, which is here. So here is our pretty simple user interface for how we're sharing. And this is the image that is on your slide deck resource. So within here, we are going to go ahead and list who we'd like to share this with. And it doesn't just have to be one person. It could be multiple people. I could add several emails. If I have a whole list, I could copy from a Google Sheet or an Excel file and paste here, separated by commas, and I would be able to put in a whole list of people. Right now, both of these people have editing rights, meaning they have full access. So once I share with them, they are able to open the same doc. All of us can work simultaneously on the document, editing, deleting, adding, formatting, all full access rights. If I want them to be commenters, that would mean that they could add comments in the right side, which could flag maybe questions or suggestions and things like this, but they couldn't actually edit the text on the document. Viewer would be the access where I'm going to share this with you. I just want you to take a look, and our feedback would be via email, over the phone, something like this. Viewer would not be able to change anything in the file itself. So again, it's important to note when we do these sort of rights here that you do need to be sharing with someone with a Gmail domain. So an email that ends with Gmail, and then within our workspace, anyone with the domain cousd.net or studentmail.org is also a Gmail domain for us. So these two people are going to get editing rights. I'm going to notify them by default. That is checked. And that's important. What that's going to do is send the people you're sharing with an email. If you don't send the people you're sharing with an email, they absolutely do not know that anything was just shared into their drive. So in the background, it's getting put in their shared with me folder, and they really don't know it showed up. No one really goes into their drive checking their shared with me to see if anything's been shared with them. So this is really the only way to notify them. So you really always want to notify people and give them a message here. And give them a little message here, whatever it is you want to say. And then you can go ahead and send this document to those particular people. This, by the way, is going to give both of these people listed editor rights. If I wanted one person to be a viewer and one to be an editor, I would need to put them in separately. So if that's the case, I could take that one person out and I would say send. Now, since this is just a Gmail and not a COUSD account, it's just letting me know this person can still have access. So I'm just saying go ahead and go with it because I'm working inside our COUSD domain. And so I'm going to go back in here just to bring that up. And we can see that in here that I am shared it with basically myself, my Gmail account. Do I want to add anybody else? Let's go back and add that other viewer and just give viewer rights. This one I'm not going to notify because it's just a sample, and I'm going to go ahead and remove that one in a second. So as I keep going back into share, you can see who this document is shared with. Keep in mind and remember from our previous video that this indication right here, this icon indicates that this file has been shared with somebody. Who is it shared with? If that's something that you want to test out or look at, you can right click, go to share, and see who's in the list. While I'm in here, if I decide I need to change the rights of this particular viewer, I can go ahead and say, okay, I'm going to switch to an editor and I'm going to save. So just like that particular person, as soon as they open this document, are now having edit rights. Nothing else is required to give them that access. If I want to come back in here again, there's a couple other newer options just to note. Either A, if you're the owner of a document, you can always transfer ownership. So if I created something that I wanted to give ownership to somebody else as, you can always transfer ownership, or I can remove. We're done working on this. I want to go ahead and remove everybody from it. One at a time, you can go in and say remove. Another option is to give temporary access. So this is a little bit more detailed. So you can give them limited access as a commenter and decide when you want that access to expire. So again, on this one, we'll say remove and make sure we hit, because this is pending, hit save, and my changes are now saved. So those are my sharing options. Multiple people, types of permissions. Make sure we send them a notification so that they know it has arrived. And then just keep in mind what type of domain you're sharing with. Okay, so that's sharing the file. And remember, that means it's going to be coming up in their shared with me section of their Google Drive. So they will be going here to find that. What about the link? Same exact idea. If I click on it, I now see I have this link here. So instead of share, I'm looking at link. Same thing if I right click, get link. Same thing if I'm in the file. Once again, I can hit share, or I can go up to file, share, and get the link there too. So if I go to link, let's go ahead and just click on get link. The only thing that you're going to want to make sure you take a look at is right here in this drop down where it's by default it says restricted. There's a couple options. Restricted means absolutely nobody can open this link unless their name is in the shared with me group. So in other words, if it's one of these people, these are the only people, anybody in this list can open it. If you want to expand that, you need to click on this blue line down here at the bottom that says change link. And that's how you're going to get the drop down. When you get this drop down, you can access for all COUSD members, which means anyone in the COUSD domain, or totally public. So think about your audience. If it's someone within your COU domain, your department, staff, teachers, whoever it is, they can access this. So everybody in the domain, if they have the link, and you can make them all viewers, commenters, or editors. So if you just want to share this link with COUSD people, you would say copy link and then go paste it where you want it to go. If you're sharing this link out with public, maybe parents, you're putting it on a website, you're putting it in a remind message, you're posting it in an email, and anyone who has this link, you need it to be able to be opened. That's going to be anyone with the link. So it doesn't matter what email address they're coming from. Does not have to be COUSD or Gmail. Anyone, anywhere who has this link, when they click on it, will be able to see it And then again, you would have the ability to change that if you wanted to. So at this point, I have it on anyone with the link. It's not restricted. So anyone with the link can view at this point. That still means that when I added myself earlier, I can still edit it, or whoever I want to add can still be editors. So if I want to go back and say, I also want to add this editor here, I'll go back in to my get link status. And again, it's shared with 2 other people. They can still edit, but everybody with the link can view. So I'm going to copy that link. And then essentially what you can do is just go into your document. It could be your slides project, whatever you're working on, and you're going to go ahead and paste. And notice that URL is pretty long and doesn't look very nice. Remember, when you're pasting in a link, you can either do the straight Control V, V for Velcro, to paste it in, or you might want to say, click here to view this doc. And whatever we click on, let's go ahead and zoom in a bit here. See that a bit better. So I'm going to select that text. Here's my link icon. It's also Control K for your shortcut key. You could hit Control K and get it in here. And I'm going to paste it and say apply. That just looks a little bit better. So you can take this idea into any type of file that you're working on. You could take it into your email and say, click here to view this document. Notice it's not blue. This will turn into a hyperlink once you send it. But you can do the same thing in here with your link. You have a link option in your email. Click here to view this document. So instead of pasting in the long, ugly link, I'm going to say click here. I'm going to click on my link icon for my email. And the text it's displaying is click here. And I'm going to go ahead and paste in my URL. And so through the email, when they click here, it's still going to take them to that same document and they will be able to view it. So those are all my settings for sharing this link out. Okay, so we've done sharing the file and how to do that. We've done sharing the link. What about files shared with you? Just a quick side note on that. If you have files that are shared with you, again, people should be notifying you via email. You've seen an email that says so-and-so has shared this with you, and you'll notice right away what type of viewing experience that you get with that particular document. If you have a file shared with you, they are all going to go into your shared with me folder. If it's something that has been shared with you that you would like to put into my drive, it's a simple right click and you're going to say add shortcut to drive. And from there, again, as we talked about in our previous video, you could go ahead and determine exactly where you want that to go. It's going to be a shortcut because you're not the owner. So just kind of something to note, it does say add shortcut to drive. But remember, anything that's shared with you is coming into this shared with me section. You're not necessarily going to find it in my drive unless you move it into my drive. So if something really vital or important is shared with you, you really want to tag it into my drive. Otherwise, just know you might not always get emails because it might just be something like this right here, the Charter Oak Bulletin. As a parent, I get an email that says, here's the bulletin. And by default, that means it's dumped into my drive, shared with me. We tend to have a lot of things going on inside of my drive. This does not take away from anything else that as far as our sharing space, but things that you want need to really be moved into my drive because that's your stuff, into your folders and filed away where you want to keep them. It's perfectly fine just to have a bunch of stuff sitting in shared with me. Most of us have that going on at this point. So that is your shared with you information. And it does say, lastly, if you don't want something anymore that's been shared with you, feel free to move it to the trash and then you can go empty your trash. And that's it for our sharing settings.